Hi friends, welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Caroline. I like to do knitting and crocheting videos on my channel, and today I wanted to share my sock knitting plans with you. So I wanted to sit down and match up some of my sock yarn with some beautiful patterns that I want to make. Maybe contemplate new techniques I want to try this year, as well as discuss anything else that might come up through the sock knitting planning. So basically this video is just going to be a fun, cozy planning session. Go grab your knitting, maybe a nice cup of tea, and let's get into it. First off, let's reflect on last year's sock knitting. So my goal was to make 6 pairs of socks last year. If you followed along last year, then you know that we did not succeed, which is exactly why I wanted to make this video. I want to sit down, focus on making some plans and maybe setting some goals in advance so I can hopefully have more success in my sock knitting this year. Before we dive into these new plans though, I wanted to take a look and see what we did last year. As I said, the goal was 6 pairs of socks for last year. I made 4 out of the 6 pairs, and I actually finished those 4 in the first 6 months of the year, so I was actually ahead of my goal at some point. Let's discuss what went right, and maybe more importantly what went wrong. Long story short, it's the freaking ruffle socks. Alright, let's take a little look at last year's socks. The first pair of socks that I finished were these. These are by far my most worn socks. They are made with Frogmouth's Twisty Sock, which is the yarn brand of my friend. If you've been around here, you'll know about her. It's great. These are so incredibly soft. What I did for these socks, it has twisted rib, which I do think looks very neat. I picked this contrasting color with it, which I think looks really good because it also comes back in the main color. So I think it matches quite well. These are, they're not ankle socks, but they're also not full-length socks. The only time I would wear long socks would be in my Doc Martens, but really want to be wearing handmade socks in those anyway. My socks will be quite short compared to maybe some others, so that's what, if you notice that, that's why I usually don't wear like full-length socks anyway, so wouldn't make sense to knit them. Yeah, these were my first pairs of socks. I used a planned afterthought heel, so it's not a true afterthought heel because I didn't cut into them. I used some scrap yarn for these pairs, but they turn out great. I really like these socks. They're just very comfortable, very nice, and I think they're also very pretty. But just some plain vanilla socks went by great, no problems whatsoever. 10 out of 10. Then my next pairs of socks were these. I still need to weave in some ends. These are the second pair of socks that I made. These are some scrappy socks. The main colour is Dot's Fable. Heel colour is a little scrap that I got in a scrap fund calendar. So last year with Christmas, or I guess 2 years ago now, our knitting group did like a little scrap fund exchange. So we gave each other like 20-gram skeins, exactly for the purpose of doing heels and cuffs and stuff. And this one was actually just an extra one because it wasn't fully 20 grams, but it was just enough to make only the heels of these socks, which turned out great for this pair. And then the cuff of these socks are actually some remaining yarn from these socks, which were my first ever socks actually, or actually my second pair of socks, but very close to being the first. So these were great for stash busting, and I actually think they turned out much better than I would have expected in advance, because these colors actually match up great with the main color. What I did for these was split all the yarn that I had in 2, so I could just knit up a tube, knit up all the yarn, and basically get them as long as possible, which was honestly, surprisingly, pretty fast still. Like, it's not that far off from the length of my first pair of socks. And then I did a true afterthought heel for the very first time, which actually was not as bad as I thought it would be. So these were my third pairs of socks. This is what I call my birthday pair because both of these, the yarns that are in here, I got for my birthday. These are actually quite long for me. If we compare it to the first pair, it's like barely a couple, like it's a couple, maybe a centimeter longer. So these are actually made with a summer sock yarn, which is kind of funky fresh. So these are partially cotton. I haven't worn these out too much yet, but I do really like the way they look. They're very different from what I would usually knit up color-wise, but I do think it's kind of neat. These are also a true afterthought heel. I did 2x2 rib on this one. What did I do on these? Also 2x2. So these are both 2x2 rib. True afterthought heels. As you can tell, all of these socks are vanilla socks because I think for me it was socks were always like the kind of like mindful side project to have for on the go. Vanilla socks were just the easiest. I do kind of want to change that this year. I have one more pair that I made last year, which were my dad's socks, which is why I don't have them here. They were the first DK socks that I made, and I made them for my dad. I really enjoyed that actually, and while I do love my dad, I genuinely don't think I would ever make him a fingering weight sock because his feet are massive and that would just take me too long. So I think the DK socks were nice for him, but I don't own a pair of DK socks and I think I would really enjoy that. So that's definitely on the list for this year. I want to make a pair of DK weight socks. I think that one was also a true afterthought heel. I don't remember the ribbing that I did, but it was probably 2x2. I'm very comfortable with like the vanilla sock recipe that I have mastered. So I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and do some more exciting stuff this year. That being said, where did it go wrong last year? These bad boys. I've always wanted to make ruffle socks because I do genuinely just think they're really cute. I have these very pretty loafers and I think these just look amazing in them. That being said, the beginning of this sock is absolutely horrendous in my humble opinion. I just really didn't enjoy casting this sock on. So while I finished the first sock pretty quickly, or at least the tube, because it again did an afterthought heel, and then I was like, okay, time to make a second one, and I just really did not want to cast it on because again, it's just not very pleasant. So I really didn't feel like it and I put it off. Yes, I started these in 2024, but I've only finished them in 2025. So this is actually the first pair of socks that I will count for this year. And I don't actually count them from last year, but I do think it was a honorable mention. I do really like the look of ruffle socks, also different designs. So what I might do is see if there's like other socks with ruffles that use different technique than immediately starting with the ruffle, because I didn't enjoy that. But maybe also not, because I cannot go through this again. But yeah, these are actually the first just plain colored sock. Crazy, but I really enjoy a contrast color cuff heel toe situation. These are the first that are just plain grey. They're made with Lengyan Yavol. No matter how much pain they were to make, I do quite enjoy the look of them. Those were all socks I made last year. Reflecting back on them, I think vanilla socks are great, but I also think that I have a pretty good selection of them right now, and I would like to kind of get into more interesting sock constructions, either lace, using like a lace pattern or more colorwork socks. I would like to improve my colorwork tension on my socks because I sometimes have the issue that I start a colorwork sock on the cuff and I can't get it over my heel. And I know that's like a common issue, but I would like to resolve that issue this year for me. I want to knit up more engaging socks for my brain. I just think that would help with actually seeing socks as more of an active project than just a side gig, if that makes sense. That being said, I will probably still make some vanilla socks because I do just love me a good vanilla sock. I also would like to try out some new heels. I only actually ever done a heel flap and gusset, which I don't love the fit of on me. and I also don't love the process of making this. And then the scrap yarn afterthought heel and a true afterthought heel, which I do really like the process of, because you can just mindlessly knit on your sock until you're done basically, and then you just have to put in the heel and it's fine. So I do like to make it. I think they fit pretty good, but I would just like to discover some more options and see if there's maybe something that's even better out there. But I also want to try out at least one toe-up sock. I tried it once before, I absolutely despised it, but I would like to give it a second chance because I think it deserves it. I think it's really nice for like working up all of the yarn, and I understand the appeal. I just really didn't like casting on. I didn't like the cast on method for toe-up socks, but I have grown as a knitter, so I can like imagine that it might actually not be as bad as it was when I first tried it. So I would like to give it a second try and see how that goes. And then obviously I would like to use up stash yarn, because that's kind of why we're really here, aren't we? This is my massive bin of sock yarn, which is way too much sock yarn for someone who doesn't even knit 6 pairs of socks in a year. I looked up on Ravelry some patterns I would like to make and kind of cross-referenced it with the sock yarn that I do have in stash. I made some pairs. I think I thought it might just be fun to like discuss it and see what I came up with, and then maybe for some yarns I don't have plans with, you guys can help me figure out what would be a nice pattern to use up this sock yarn with. I have quite a few full skeins still in here, as well as things I should use up in color work instead. Because, for example, this is not gonna knit up an entire sock. So I have quite an array of stash here, and I started planning the full skeins. First things first, I knew I really wanted to use these two yarns together because it's really hard to show you on camera, but this green yarn has some brown specks in it, and I just think this is a really nice combination because of that. So these are the two yarns that I wanted to combine. I have chosen the Local Train Journey socks. So free on Ravelry. I will link all the patterns I talk about in the description as always. That's the plan for these. Next up, I have this undyed hank of yarn that I would really like to first dye up and then make the Mountain Walk Chunky socks by Florence Miller. I have two of these skeins from Leiden Yarns Jabel. I thought this yarn would look great in the Canava by Rachel Coopy. It's in the 52 Weeks of Sock book, and I think I also just want to use the knitting books that I currently own a bit more. That's the socks that I want to make with this yarn. Nice little challenge. I've got that same yarn in white, and I want to make the Togetherness socks by Little Home Designs. I want to challenge myself this year, okay? So I'm putting it on the list, and we'll see how far we can get. That's gonna become the Togetherness sock in white, because I think cables in white is just very classy. Alright, controversial, because I just said that I don't like starting with a ruffle on the sock. But these next socks will start with a ruffle. They are the basic socks, and I want to make it with this yarn. This is basically me in a skein. I just think this yarn is absolutely stunning. I originally wanted to use it in a top just because of that, because I thought using it for a sock was kind of low-key wasting this yarn. On the other hand, if I'm being realistic, 100 grams of fingering weight yarn simply is enough for my size to make a top with. I've decided that I will be making socks with these, and because it's such a special yarn, I will allow it to become ruffle socks. I'm like ridiculously excited about this pair. This pairing might be controversial and low-key kind of crazy, but I love it. So I want to make the Linea socks by Summer Lee Designs with these. I think these would look sick in that pattern. That's the plan for these. Another basic green full skein. I think this one will actually look great as the cool and curly socks. I think it will look great in just a solid colour. The next sock I want to make comes from the Midwinter sock set by Summerlee. That will combine these two yarns. So this will be the main colour, and then this will be the colour for the colour work. I think I will still have yarn left over because I have another skein of this. And I am envisioning this to become the unearthed socks. I just think they look sick. I will probably omit the text of the sock, but I just think these would look sick in like a flower design. So that's a plan for leftovers. Then we obviously can't forget about this pairing. They do still exist in my brain. This is Drops Fable Keen Fibre. And yeah, these will be the broken seat stitch socks. That's a tongue twister. Then I have this absolutely stunning yarn that I will probably also make socks with. Again, I would have loved to make a top of this, but again, it's just not realistic. It's not gonna happen. So I will again have to make socks. Just don't know which pattern yet. They're probably gonna become some sort of vanilla sock because I just think that's the way this colorway will shine the most. Some other socks, colorwork socks that I wanted to make are the Tiptoe Through the Tulips socks by Stone Knits. Again, I will probably have leftovers. This will be the background colour, the petal colour, and then this yarn will become the tulip. If I have enough yarn left over after I knitted the other sock. And then I still have some leftovers. Most of the things I haven't planned are just not full skeins or skeins I quite know what to do yet because I might want to pair it with yarn that's left over from the main plans. So they're kind of difficult to plan right now. But I'm sure we can come back to it once I've kind of executed the main plans and know what kind of yarns I've got left over. And we can maybe make another episode of this if we want to. I can also do this maybe with some of my other yarn, plan out my projects. I think that's fun. I always like watching these videos, so let me know if you're watching this, you probably also like these videos, so like let me know. But yeah, those were the main plans that I kind of made, and honestly just looking at it and like diving into the possibilities just made me very excited for the sock knitting. So I definitely think this has helped me to get on track for hitting my goal next year or upcoming year, this year. That's kind of my plans for this year for my sock knitting. Let me know in the comments if you also have some sock knitting plans, or if you think of something that might be fun for me to try, either some cows, some challenges, or some patterns with some of the yarn that I haven't really attributed patterns to just yet. So yeah, that's it for my sock knitting plans this year. I for one can't wait to get started. If you're also planning on doing some sock knitting this year, I would love to hear about it. If you like this video, then don't forget to give it a like. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of me. You can also follow me on Instagram and on... My battery just died. Thankfully I was already ending this video anyway, so thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week for another destashing video. Bye! I'm so obnoxious.